Hey everybody, Tyler is joining me to talk about some experiential real estate investment trusts. Now, these are actually some of the more exciting real estate companies, in my opinion, because they all own properties that I've been to. It's not just companies that own random convenience stores and companies that own apartment buildings that you're never going to live in or anything like that. These are companies that actually own properties that you probably go to have fun. So we're going to talk about a few of those. Before we do, please take a minute and click subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and check out the link you see on your screen, fool.com/Frankel. Get the top 10 stocks to buy right now from the Motley Fool. It's the best way to support this work we're doing on YouTube. Again, fool.com/Frankel. So before we really dive into some of the specifics of these, I want to talk about what I call the big three of the experiential real estate market. I own all three of these in different proportions. The first one I would say is EPR Properties. Ticker symbol is EPR. They kind of pride themselves on being like the pure play experiential REIT, which the other two I'm going to talk about specialize in one specific type of property. So they're more like the broad one. They own movie theaters, they own water parks, they own ski resorts. Topgolf is a big tenant of theirs. EPR, the thesis generally is that there's a big addressable market here. They're a very high yielding REIT. They're very profitable. The downside is it's kind of tough for them to grow, especially right now. Their cost of capital is very high. They did get a new credit facility that lets them use it without being in violation of their debt covenants, but it's still not a great idea. So they're just kind of growth limited right now. There's VICI Properties. That's number two. Ticker symbol is VICI. They're generally known as the casino REIT. They started from a spin out of Caesars Entertainment. They ended up acquiring their closest rival, which was essentially the MGM Resorts equivalent. They're the biggest landowner on the Las Vegas Strip, but they've started to diversify recently. They bought a portfolio of Bolero entertainment centers. That's kind of their first move toward non-casino properties. And then number three is Ryman Hospitality Properties. Ticker symbol is RHP. They're technically a hotel REIT. There's a ton of those, but they are very focused on the experiential types of properties. They own all the large-scale hotels under the Gaylord brand name are Ryman Properties, focused on having group events, having conferences, conventions. Every winter they have the ice exhibit in some of the Gaylord hotels. They also own some of the most iconic entertainment venues. If you're a country music fan, I don't know if Tyler is, but the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman Auditorium, which is where the company gets its name, and a few others. So those are what I would call the big three. Out of the three, Tyler, you don't have to tell us whether you're a country music fan or not, but out of the three, which one is your go-to stock right now?
Well, I own two of them. I own Ryman and I own VICI. I'm a little apprehensive with EPR. I know they have the highest yield, and like the biggest knock on them is, like you said, is their cinema holdings, which is pretty large, and they're trying to correct that. But I've watched REITs go through turnarounds before, and REIT turnarounds can take a long time. So you have to be extremely patient with them. And I don't even know if I would have the patience to see it all the way through. I own Ryman, and it's kind of one of those I don't even think about it that much sort of investments. But I wanted to focus on VICI because I think it's the one of these three that I'm most intrigued by, and probably the one I would be willing to add to the most. It took me a really long time to come around to the idea of VICI, because I think a lot of the talk about like Vegas Strip properties as like these iconic properties that are never going to go away, when that really hasn't been the case with Vegas. Like every 20, 30, 40 years, these things do tend to turn over in some way or another. So they're not like these, stand the test of time, 100-year kind of properties that I think some people might, purport them to be. Like there was a time when the Luxor was the cat's meow of the Vegas Strip, and now it's like a joke. So, you have to keep that in mind. That said, I think it's come to the point that VICI has become so diversified, and the fact that it owns the land at this point, that maybe one or two of them not being the iconic properties that they used to be doesn't matter as much anymore. And yes, it's diversified into bowling alleys, but it's such a small portion of the portfolio right now. I still think, what is it? Like, it's like the MGM Grand, Caesar's Palace, and maybe I think, is it the Bellagio? Is it Bellagio's under their property? Basically, like there's a small handful of very large chain hotels or strip hotels that are kind of the bulk of the annual base lease for Vici, but I think it's starting to diversify, and it's sufficiently large enough now that it's not going to be as much of an issue over time. And there is lots of opportunities outside of the Vegas Strip, in regional casinos, in kind of this experiential sort of place that a company that is well capitalized as Vici is, there's going to be some opportunities to grow the business outside of just the Vegas Strip.
Yeah, I think the Venetian is the one you're thinking of, is the other really big one they have.
That's the third one.
It's not
Yeah.
the Bellagio. The Venetian, and Venetian is really significant because it is the big convention center. Other than the actual Las Vegas Convention Center, the Sands Expo Center that's attached to the Venetian is the biggest in the area. So they get a lot of the event traffic as well. Every year, pretty much every year, I go to a conference in Vegas called Money 2020, and it's held at the Venetian. So I own all three, as I said. The biggest one and the one that I'm most bullish on out of the three is Ryman Hospitality Properties. I think they're executing tremendously well. I think the pandemic, which was supposed to make group-focused hotels weaker, had the actual opposite effect on them. With the surge in remote work, in-person collaboration is more, it's more valuable than ever in certain industries. And it's kind of, if you just look at some of the big conferences like the Money 2021 that I mentioned, look at the attendance record of those over the past few years and just how it's grown and how it's, the room rates that Ryman is getting from its group business, the people who are booking 5-6 years in advance. They've just done a great job of executing. Now it's the lowest yielding of the three. It's the best performing of the three over the past few years, but for good reason, and you get what you pay for. Having said that, I can make a solid case for all of these. EPR, it's totally fair to be in wait and see mode. It's also totally fair to be, in they're the best value of the three mindset as well, because they're the cheapest in terms of price to FFO right now for a reason. But like I said, you're getting what you pay for. But I like all three of these. I take the basket approach just because I think the experiential economy is going to have a couple of good decades ahead of it, and I don't know which one of these is going to end up being the biggest winner from here. So I'm taking more of a basket approach. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from the popular product Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by nearly 5 times. So go to fool.com/Frankel to get your 10 stock picks now. The Motley Fool Stock Advisor returns are 767% as of July 5th, 2024, and are measured against the S&P 500 returns of 163% as of July 5th, 2024.